Another terrible injury for Bryan Danielson happened on Wednesday. I got all the news on Bryan's injury, which will keep him out for the rest of the year. Also, Ronda Rousey is now working the independent wrestling circuit. Yes, you heard me correct. Rousey on the indies. And two major call-ups from NXT confirmed for tonight's Monday Night Raw. All this plus so much more right here on Off the Script. And we will start with Bryan Danielson. He cannot stay healthy, and I don't know what's going on with him, but it seemingly looks like a string of bad luck is following Bryan Danielson around. Wednesday, we saw the show go off in a very weird manner. We didn't know if it was a work or a shoot, and now we got confirmation. If you guys watched AEW Collision on Saturday night, AEW confirmed that Bryan Danielson has a broken orbital bone, and it will keep him out the rest of the year. This is legit. Now, Meltzer noted it was unclear whether Danielson will be able to make the Tokyo Dome because it was slated that he would be at Wrestle Kingdom. Meltzer is now reporting that he's not sure if it's going to be Bryan wrestling at the Tokyo Dome now with this injury that happened on Wednesday. He says this, and I quote, "Yeah, it's sad. I don't know if he makes it to the Tokyo Dome. It may be touch and go if he had surgery for January 4th. Hopefully he can do it. Hopefully he can finish the next however many months it is. He didn't put a time on exactly when it is next year that he's going to be done. In theory, his contract would be over in September. Obviously, Tony could extend it, but he's not going to be a dirty guy in that situation if Bryan wants to be finished. If Bryan promised he's going to be finished at the end of his contract, then he wants to be finished. The guy can always quit. He can just go back to WWE if he wants, but I don't think he's going to do that at this point. Not that he's got anything against WWE, and never say never. I don't want to say he'd never do it." End quote. This is terrible. You know, I didn't really know what happened on Wednesday's Dynamite, and the first thing that I thought about was maybe we should keep Bryan and Okada out of the ring and not put them in a ring against each other, because it happened in June at Forbidden Door during that match that everybody thought was going to be like the greatest match ever. Broke his arm and wrestled another 10 minutes with a broken arm. Match still ended up being decent, but nowhere near the quality that we expected between Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada. Then we get this impromptu tag team match, Okada making a random appearance on AEW Dynamite. They're in the ring together. Everybody's, oh my God, Bryan and Okada in the ring again. And he breaks his orbital bone. Now, I don't know if it was Okada that did it to Bryan. I don't know if it came on an orange punch from Orange Cassidy or somewhere in the match. Maybe it had nothing to do with either one of those guys and it was just a freak injury. But at the end of the day, he's hurt. He's going to be out the rest of October, all of November, all of December, and then he's got Wrestle Kingdom, which I'm assuming was going to be the next match, one-on-one with Okada and Bryan Danielson. I don't know. So this is a terrible, terrible situation for Tony Khan. He's going to miss Full Gear. He's going to miss World's End at the end of the year. AEW just announced a new pay-per-view. Bryan on TV makes AEW TV better. Without him there, they obviously take a hit as far as quality is concerned. But Bryan going to be out for the rest of the year with a broken orbital bone. That happened on Wednesday's Dynamite. Ronda Rousey is officially no longer with WWE. She is now working the independent wrestling circuit. Now, Ronda Rousey returns to the ring last Thursday for Lucha Vavoom at the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles, California, where she was sitting front row when she teamed with her longtime friend, Marina Shafir, to take on Taya Valkyrie and Brian Kendrick in tag team action. This marked the first match since she left WWE after losing to Shayna Baszler in an MMA rules match, which was awful, at SummerSlam from Ford Field in August. Now, Dave Meltzer pointed out that Rousey teased after the match on Twitter that she would be working with Pro Wrestling Revolver on November 16th. Then Pro Wrestling Revolver and Sami Callihan announced that, in fact, Ronda Rousey will be working their show on November 16th with Marina Shafir. Meltzer says this: she wrestled at Lucha Vavoom at the Mayan Theater in Los Angeles. She just wanted to team up with Marina, and she might be doing the Revolver show, which is now official. I think it might be November. There's a date in November, 16th. There's a Pro Wrestling Revolver show in Los Angeles, and Ronda Rousey basically tweeted, "Isn't that interesting? I think she wants to team with Marina. Marina does a lot of Revolver, so maybe there's something there." She's certainly teasing it, and she's a free agent. She can do what she wants. She's expected to wrestle. It's funny because last night, as I was putting the Observer together, I got a message from somebody. It's like she's in the front row and all the wrestlers are playing to her. Even then, it wasn't like, did you expect nobody to say, oh, she's going to wrestle tonight? I didn't hear that. They wanted to keep that one a secret, end quote. Now, the option, obviously, and the possibility that she's a free agent, people are now talking that with Full Gear taking place at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, that she could potentially show up for AEW. Basically, Dave Meltzer says, I don't know if she's cost effective for AEW because you know what she made with WWE. Now, I don't want Ronda Rousey in AEW. I did not want her in WWE. I think when she first hit the scene in WWE, the value in Ronda was at a sky-high, just peak. And she did so much for that women's revolution, so much for that women's division. She went away, she dropped the title to Becky at WrestleMania, and then when she came back, it was never the same. And mostly that's WWE's doing. The booking was terrible. The booking of the division in general was terrible. Ronda did not feel like she wanted to be there. So with her run being a failure this second time in WWE, everybody thought she was going to retire. Now she's back on the indies, and I see a lot of hypocrites out in the community basically saying, oh, Ronda, what she's doing is great. What she's doing here is fantastic. She's going to help whatever promotion she's a part of. I think she should go to AEW. No, I'm not going to be a part of that bandwagon. I don't think Ronda Rousey brings any value to AEW. She didn't bring any value to WWE. The only thing I will say positive about this situation, because I was one of those people that felt Ronda, she did not want to be there, that she almost kind of fell out of love with pro wrestling. The fact that she's doing the indies, yeah, she may be helping Marina. Yeah, she may be helping her friend out, build her stock on the indies to maybe get a bigger payday or a bigger spot on television with AEW, or maybe sign back with the WWE. We don't know what her plan is, but obviously she's helping out her friend. And Marina looks better with Ronda next to her than if Marina was with nobody. So I get that. The only thing positive I will say about this is that when I felt Ronda didn't want to be there with WWE and didn't want to be in the ring with anybody, she didn't really show anybody that she cared. The fact that she's working the indies and going out there after saying everybody she's done with pro wrestling, and now she has this animosity towards the fans, the fact that she's working the indies kind of shows that Ronda does love professional wrestling. And it tells me that Ronda does love professional wrestling, but she might not have loved the structure and the creative and what's going on in WWE. Because if she's working the indies after basically leaving the WWE, to me, there's a problem there. Something's going on that we don't really know about. Something's going on that people aren't allowed to talk about. But if Ronda was in WWE, the highest of highs, and working in that division, and then she leaves willingly to put over her friend, then go work the indies, doesn't that tell you that there's something wrong with where she was working previously in WWE? That's just the way that I see it. Now, we'll never know. I think we really do know, but we don't really know for sure. And Ronda's been very outspoken about the way WWE creative is towards the women's division. She's been outspoken about how things work back there. I don't know, man. It's just rather bizarre that she's now working the indies after saying goodbye to pro wrestling with WWE. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't want to see her in AEW. I don't want to see her with another major promotion. But the fact that she's working the indies, man, part of me kind of respects that and appreciates that, because it shows you that she actually does love being in front of a live wrestling audience. And finally, guys, we got 2 potential NXT call-ups that are happening tonight on Monday Night Raw. WWE has the go-home show tonight for Crown Jewel on Saturday. I will be live after the show is over on Saturday afternoon. Several segments are confirmed for the show tonight. Seth Rollins versus JD McDonough. DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa versus Imperium. Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci. Natalya versus Chelsea Green in a street fight. Dominic Mysterio versus Ricochet. And Xia Li. Yes, Xia Li's back on television versus Candice LeRae. Yes, who's also back on television. Alpha Academy will tag together against Julius and Brutus Creed, the Creed brothers. This was confirmed on Sunday, making it the main roster debut for the Creed brothers. Meltzer talked about this on the Observer Live, and I quote, "I was told that right now, barring any changes, and it was not like it was 100%, but right now, they're being called up, which means they could win, they should win when it comes to this match. I think it's about time for them to get called up, honestly. I mean, they're a little rough around the edges. They're impressive as hell. I mean, there was a time where it's like, my mentality was, I'm sure it's the same as theirs. It's like these guys have a chance to beat really big stars, and they're very, very high on Julius as a single. But I think it's time, they're certainly in there with the perfect opponents because Chad Gable is a fantastic pro wrestler. And the thing with Otis is if they throw Otis around and they can do that, it'll get over. I think it's about time for them, end quote. So Dave Meltzer talking about the Creeds getting called up and that this is their official main roster debut and that they are officially called up to the main roster. I don't watch NXT weekly on Tuesdays. I usually go back sometime later in the week and watch it. The Creeds are very popular on Tuesday night. I don't really see the big deal about the Creeds. I do think with Meltzer, with what he said is true. I do think that they're rough around the edges. But I do think that Brutus is a great hot tag. I think Julius is tremendous. I think both of them are tremendous athletes. I mean, they are going to get over well if WWE really puts a lot of effort into getting them over on the main roster. The thing is, they are still very green in several different aspects. One of those things is Julius's promo work. I think he is not really all there when it comes to a promo. I think he sounds very scripted. Now, Brutus, I think, is a little bit more natural when it comes to the promo. But on top of that, they're very generic looking. They don't really have a lot of charisma. They're not very outgoing. What they do in the ring is great. And they could transition well to the main roster, especially guys of that size throwing somebody like Otis around for sure. But the thing is, on top of that, if WWE gives them any effort at all and gives them some sort of character and gives them time to get over on the main roster instead of suppressing them, I do think that they will be fine on the main roster. Now, as far as singles, I absolutely see, if built correctly and pushed at a time when it is their time to break them away, I do see both of them, not just Julius, I see both of them having a potential for a singles run in WWE. And I think that is going to be what WWE is looking for. This is a great launching pad. This is a great starting point on Raw for them. And I do think that the main roster definitely needs more tag teams to round out both divisions on Raw and on SmackDown. But I do like this call-up, and I'm very excited to see what they do in there with Chad Gable and Brutus and Otis going at it. Julius throwing Otis around tonight, potentially. That could be something that gets them over immediately on the main roster. I think this is going to be a very entertaining and fun match to watch tonight on Monday Night Raw. The other thing about call-ups, though, I continuously see guys like Bron Breakker, women like Tiffany Stratton, women like Cora Jade. I don't even think she's truly ready yet, but I mean, she hasn't even been on TV down there for quite a while. Bron Breakker especially, I don't know what we're waiting for to get Bron Breakker called up to the main roster. The man should be called up already. Everybody seemingly gets called up before Bron Breakker. What are they waiting for? Bron Breakker should immediately be thrusted into a Raw program or on SmackDown in a SmackDown program. There's no reason why he should remain down there when they have absolutely nothing for him to do. So I want to see guys like that who are going to make an immediate impact, who are ready for the main roster to get called up. Bron Breakker, Wes Lee, guys like that. So we'll see what happens with the Creed brothers, Julius and Brutus, making their main roster debut tonight. This is their call-up from NXT for the Monday Night Raw brand. Guys, I will be back with more news, whether it's today or tomorrow. I don't really know, depending on what the news happens to be today. I will be back with more news this week right here on OTS. I will be live after Monday Night Raw tonight for the Monday Night Raw post show on OTS. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes on today's video. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for notifications. And make sure you guys go out and check all the other videos that I have on the channel. I'll be back with more news right here on OTS. I'll see you guys later.